These 97 members of Congress reported trades in companies influenced by their committees. At least 97 current members of Congress bought or sold stock, bonds, or other financial assets that intersected with their congressional work or reported similar transactions by their spouse or a dependent child, an analysis by the New York Times has found. U.S. lawmakers are not banned from investing in any company, including those that could be affected by their decisions. But the trading patterns uncovered by the Times analysis underscore longstanding concerns about the potential for conflicts of interest or use of inside information by members of Congress, government ethics experts say. So let me just rephrase this because the New York Times is couching it about possible concerns. Blah, 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 blah. It's actually these trading patterns uncovered by the Times analysis underscore insider trading and legalized insider trading that is legal for politicians and illegal for the people who elect them. That's what we're about to go through actually shows. Times reporters analyzed transactions between 2019 and 2021 using a database of members' financial filings called Capital Trades, which is created by 2IQ Researched. They matched the trades against relevant committee assignments and the dates of hearings and congressional investigations. So, I mean, I don't say this often, but, you know, kudos to the New York Times. This is pretty in-depth stuff. Probably took them a long time. When contacted, many of the lawmakers said the trades they reported had been carried out independently by a spouse or a broker with no input from them. Of course, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. Their spouse, their broker, their mailman is making these trades for them conveniently right after briefings they receive on topics in which they're getting inside information. Some have since sold all their stocks or moved them into blind trust. Two said the trades were accidental. Here's everything the Times analysis turned up. So these are 97 members of Congress. We're not going to go through all of them, but we'll start. Hate to say it because, you know, I like them in some ways. Khanna leads the list in terms of potential conflicts. That's what the New York Times is calling it. So Khanna, I'll read this here. Mr. Khanna reported 10,500 trades involving nearly 900 companies made by trusts in the name of his wife and young children. That's more trades and more companies than any other member of Congress. His congressional duties overlapped with more than 15% of the companies his family members traded, including drug makers, weapons manufacturers, and oil giants. Mr. Khanna's wife and children bought or sold at least 8 companies while committees he sat on were investigating them, including AbbVie, Lockheed Martin, and Johnson & Johnson. That doesn't look good. That does not look good. Just going to keep it real. In an interview, Khanna said it was appropriate for his family members to trade stocks if they did so in a diversified trust managed by an outsider. He said the Lockheed sale occurred after an advocacy group pressured the family to sell off defense companies. He said the AbbVie trades represented less than 1% of his wife's portfolio and noted that he had been a champion of lower drug prices. So you see there 149 potential conflicts. When you just click on show, he's on the Agricultural Committee, trading John Deere strike, Mondelez International, IBM, Kellogg, General Mills, Tyson Foods, which has had some controversy. There's a lot. Agricultural Subcommittee, trading CME Group, Intercontinental Exchange, trading McDonald's, Armed Services Committee, which obviously Amazon and Google and Boeing and General Electric have made a lot of contracts with the Defense Department, particularly Amazon. Oversight Committee. There's a lot of crossover here. Oversight Committee on the Environment, ExxonMobil, Chevron, 3M Company, Dominion, Phillips 66, which, by the way, was the majority owner of the Dakota Access Pipeline, etc. Now, we're going to move on to other people. there's a few caveats because we want to be fair. For example, I used to work at Fox News and MSNBC, and I had, 401ks with the companies, right? So if you're lucky, you've worked at a company that, maybe you have a 401k. I haven't worked for either of those companies in a long time, thank God. And one day, if I ever write a memoir or something like that, I'll tell you about my days at Fox and MSNBC. But 401k, it's, I'm not individually choosing stocks, right? The company and whatever, it's mutual funds or this and that. It's their portfolio in terms of how my 401k does. Now, there are some companies that I guess you can be more hands-on in what stocks, but normally they're choosing the stocks for you. So I have no idea what MSNBC, I think I did have a 401k at Fox. I couldn't tell you what they trade, probably stuff that I wouldn't personally want to trade. So there are circumstances where you probably are invested in stuff that don't align with your values, but you have no control over what it is unless you say, cash out of my 401k because I don't like what you're trading and you're going to be hit with a huge penalty. So there are cases where an individual could say, it's not my personal trades. Blind trust, that's bullshit. Trump and other politicians have said, it's in a blind trust. I have nothing to do with it. Yeah, well, I got a bridge to sell you. If you think they just have their stuff in a blind trust and they don't know what's in it and they don't have any say. Give me a break. In terms of Khanna, listen, maybe he truly believes in Medicare for all and some progressive things, but that doesn't mean Khanna and others don't have, the desire to make money. Khanna is a very, very wealthy man. He represents Silicon Valley, which is one of the wealthiest areas in the country. And frankly, he could say, it's my wife making the trades. It's my kids making the trades. I'm not saying they should not be able to trade stock. They have the, technically it's a free country. But there has to be a line where if you're going to be on all these committees and have leadership roles on committees, you're going to have access to inside information. Whether or not you are passing that information down is kind of irrelevant. And I don't have any intel that Khanna is collaborating with his wife and kids. Hey, I just got this tip, in a committee meeting, sell or buy. Obviously, that would be horrible and that's illegal. If you're you and I, if it's a politician, it's not illegal and they get away with it. But even the appearance of a conflict is a problem. And that's very, very, very far past the appearance of a conflict. Now let's move on. We started with Khanna. Let's move on to Josh Gottheimer. Josh Gottheimer. Remember, he was one of these political scumbags who was trying to actually succeeded in ramming through the bipartisan infrastructure deal, which is really just a privatization scheme that it was supposed to be the bipartisan infrastructure deal with the $3.5 trillion Build Back Better deal. And one couldn't go without the other. But of course, Pramila Jayapal, Khanna, and others in the Progressive Caucus, that Progressive Caucus who did not endorse Nina Turner in her second congressional race, Josh Gottheimer was leading the charge of these moderate, i.e. right-wing Democrats, to not have the Build Back Better deal and to just get the infrastructure deal passed, which would have showered a lot of his donors with money and contracts. So he has 43 potential conflicts listed. And by the way, take out the word potential. These are conflicts of interest. He's got 43 potential conflicts. Colin, if we could show him. So a senior manager at Microsoft before joining Congress, Mr. Gottheimer has frequently bought and sold stock and options in the company. Two of those transactions in late 2021 were each worth $5 million to $25 million. At that time, he was serving on the Homeland Security Committee, which was holding hearings on cybersecurity issues, including in 2021 on the SolarWinds cyber attack that had affected Microsoft users. As a member of the Financial Service Committee, Mr. Geitheimer, along with his spouse, also bought and sold numerous bank and brokerage stocks, including JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Stifel, and BBVA. So let's key in on this for a second. He sold between 2019 and 2021 between $5 million and $25 million, okay, of Microsoft. Okay. Well, at that time, he was serving on the Homeland Security Committee. I don't know. Do you think the Homeland Security Committee gets any intel about tech, cybersecurity, potential attacks, the need for new contracts with big tech? And this guy's selling 5 million. Put that back up, Colin. He's selling 5 million to 25 million in Microsoft that he used to work with. Oh, by the way, he used to be a senior manager. I'm sure he has no communications whatsoever anymore with senior management at Microsoft and the lobbying they're doing with Congress while he's serving on committees that might be giving out contracts to Microsoft. I'm sure he has no inside information about bad things coming from Microsoft where its stock might dip, being that he used to be a senior Microsoft manager for him to sell. And yes, his district is the very wealthy suburbs of northern New Jersey. So let's take a look at what the New York Times here lists as the potential conflicts. Charles Schwab, he's on the Financial Services Committee, got money in Charles Schwab, Blackstone, S&P Global, Morgan Stanley, United Bankshares, oh God, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Equifax, just to name a few, Wells Fargo. Gee, I wonder why none of our politicians actually regulate or add any teeth to regulations on Wall Street. Maybe because it wouldn't be good for their stock portfolio. Do you remember Dodd-Frank, which was a Band-Aid after the 2008 financial crash that didn't really regulate Wall Street whatsoever? Well, yeah, if politicians who are invested up to the ass in Wells Fargo and JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, if they regulate those criminal banks that brought down the global economy, not so good for their stock portfolio. If you or I used to be an executive at Microsoft and are no longer an executive at Microsoft and are just kind of like a stock trader somewhere, and we sold between $5 and $25 million of Microsoft in 2 years, and my guess is some of his stock trades, whether buying or selling, were connected to news about Microsoft, not just at random times because he felt like it. And he probably sold Microsoft before something bad happened to lower its stock price. And he probably bought Microsoft before something good happened to rise its stock price. We'd probably have our door. We'd probably have some knock at our doors. For Josh Gottheimer, reelected. Does the local media in New Jersey where he represents give a shit? Of course not. Does the national media? I mean, I'm happy the New York Times did this story. Do you think the New York Times is going to get a reporter in Josh Gottheimer's face to grill him on this? You think next time Jake Tapper or anybody has Josh Gottheimer on CNN or MSNBC, they're going to be grilling him on why he has these stock trades, how they influence his policymaking? Should he divest from these stocks? I'm not holding my breath on that. And you shouldn't either. It's just staggering. It's just staggering that this is allowed. And by the way, this, I've always told you, the politicians are not the ones making the decisions. The donors are making the decisions. And that is true. We do live in the United Corporations of America. But part of the reason they are making the decisions they are, and they are not making decisions like Medicare for all or free public college, or banning fracking, or I could go down the list of things they should be doing, but they don't, because it would negatively affect their stock portfolio. I mean, I don't look, some of these people are invested up the ass in pharmaceutical companies. You think they're going to go for Medicare for all? A lot of these people are invested up the ass in defense contractors. You think they're in a rush to cut the Pentagon budget? You think they're in a rush? Or they're going to start calling, hey, let's cut our bases around the world from like 900 bases to like maybe, 75 to 100. Not good for business, baby. You think they're going to be calling to cut the Pentagon budget by 20, 30%? Hey, we just ended our 20-year war. Maybe we can cut the budget. Well, not good for their Raytheon stocks, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, to name a few. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.